Hello everyone, here's some of what's heading your way tonight. Your news at 9.
County commissions across southeast Kansas will once again consider mask mandates after the governor signs a second executive order. I'm Zach Dodge with the story.
The president's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, held a lengthy press conference this afternoon where he claimed to outline evidence of widespread election fraud. I'm Lauren Blanchard in Washington with more on what he had to say coming up.
Progressives are eyeing some major policy proposals they hope to pass during the Biden administration. I'm Ray Bogan with a look at some of the obstacles in the way of getting that done, coming up.
Doug Heddy has weather tonight. Jacob Leonard has sports. This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jordan Albee. Joplin City Council passes a mask mandate at tonight's special meeting. Council voted 6 in favor, 3 against of the new mask mandates. The mandate goes into effect immediately, runs through February 28th of next year at midnight. Counties in Kansas again hope to make a decision on mask mandates. They have to, actually, after the governor yesterday issued a new executive order. KOAM's Zach Dodge has details on what they plan to do as cases in Kansas continue to rise.
There's no win in this mask war.
Commissioners in Neosho County have decided to revisit a controversial issue, deciding to move forward with a mask ordinance, a reversal from their decision in July when they opted out of the governor's statewide mandate.
And at that time, I was having about 180 to 22, 180 saying, please don't do the mandate, and 22 saying, please do.
And at that time in July, Commissioner David Orr explains they only had 22 cases. Now they're at more than 500, and the feedback from the community has shifted.
This time we received a letter from 12 Neosho County doctors that were united, saying, we think it's time. It's time to mandate.
Now every county in Kansas will have to decide whether or not it's time, as the governor issues a second statewide mask mandate. Crawford County opted into the mandate in July and has worked to spread education ever since. They've also recently rolled out a mobile testing unit offering free testing in rural communities like Opolis.
That's really very important to break the cycle so that we can have our community healthy again.
Allen County also opted into the state mandate in July, not adding any local orders for it to be enforced. And in our other local counties, commissioners are set to meet as early as next week to decide what course they want to take.
Especially crossing county lines, it would be nice if we were united. This is not communism. We're not trying to dictate anything. We're trying to save lives.
Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
Wilson County Commission has planned a public meeting for 6:30 on Monday at Fredonia High School. Missouri Governor Mike Parson today did not issue a statewide mask mandate, but did extend the state of emergency. The state of emergency will now run through March 31st. Governor Parson is calling on Missourians to take personal responsibility, wear a mask, wash your hands, also practice social distancing. Jasper County Health Department is reporting another COVID-19 related death. Officials say the patient was a man in his 80s. This is the 70th death in Jasper County. President's personal attorney held a news conference today where he made the case for the Trump campaign's allegations of election fraud, insisting there is a path to victory for the president to win re-election. Fox News correspondent Lauren Blanchard is over in D.C. with the latest on the campaign's claims.
What I'm describing to you is a massive fraud. It isn't a little teeny one.
At an indoor press conference lacking masks and social distancing, the president's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, continued to allege widespread voter fraud in the 2020 election, still 16 days after Election Day.
Give us an opportunity to prove it in court, and we will.
The former New York City mayor insisted it was statistically impossible for Joe Biden to pull ahead in key battleground states as he did, arguing mail-in ballots were particularly prone to fraud.
I've tried 100 cases. I prosecuted some of the most dangerous criminals in the world. I know crimes. I can smell them. You don't have to smell this one. I can prove it to you 18 different ways.
The press conference came as the Trump campaign continues lawsuits in several swing states, despite most major media outlets projecting Biden as the Electoral College winner. This as states rush to certify their votes by December 14th.
This is moving rapidly. We're talking about states really like beginning next week starting to certify their results. So You know, they kept saying again and again and again, it takes time to prove a case, but time is not a commodity they have right now.
Mr. Giuliani said more lawsuits could be coming in Arizona and potentially New Mexico. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
As coronavirus cases continue to surge, President-elect Joe Biden reaches out to governors and tells them he's here to help. Meanwhile, progressive lawmakers have high hopes of their own and are hoping Biden comes through on their ambitious agenda. Fox News correspondent Ray Bogan has this story.
I will be your partner in the White House.
President-elect Biden spoke with the National Governors Association Executive Committee. It includes bipartisan leaders of states that have been hit hard by coronavirus, including New York, Maryland, Michigan, and Alabama.
It's taking massive, massive human toll on your economies. And I know many of you are facing shortages of PPE and testing and other supplies.
As the president-elect continues his transition, some progressives are proposing big ideas. Senator Elizabeth Warren is calling on Biden to appoint a public school teacher as Secretary of Education and cancel billions in student loan debt on day one.
For tens of millions of Americans.
But proposals like that are expensive and would add to the national debt. So they'll have trouble getting past fiscally conservative Republicans.
There are no moderates left in the Democrat Party.
This is how the top Republican in the House responded when asked about canceling debt.
I think getting the economy back working again is the best way of moving forward on how to deal with anyone's debt.
The possibility of a Republican-controlled Senate could also impact who serves in Biden's cabinet. Some conservative Republicans have expressed concerns about confirming their colleague Bernie Sanders as Labor Secretary. Ray Bogan, Fox News.
KOM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time to honor one of our four state heroes. Donald Mitchell served in the U.S. Navy from 1950 to 54. Native of Walnut, Kansas, Mitchell was stationed off the eastern coast of Korea. We are proud to thank Donald Mitchell, tonight's four-state hero. Doug is on deck with a complete look at the forecast a bit later in sports. After winning their 21st straight district title, Webb City Cards get ready to face the Lebanon Yellow Jackets in the state quarterfinals.
Well, it turned out to be another mild but windy day for us today. The winds at times gusting 50 upwards to 60 miles per hour, which is pretty insane. But at least we had sunshine, temperatures into the mid-70s for highs as we did go all the way up to 74 during the afternoon. Great time lapse. This is Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Of course, Indigo is just outside Seneca, Missouri. Temps, they're still up there at 64 in Independence, 63 Grove, Pitt at 60, Neosha 62, Lamar is sitting at 61 degrees, and it's still windy. It's just not as windy as what we had earlier. You can see the south winds sustained right around 15 miles per hour, and then the wind gusts, they aren't as high, but we're still getting some winds that are gusting in that 25 to about 35 mile per hour range. You can see the flag blowing. We're looking east from our station, currently sitting 64 south winds at about 15, humidity is at 56%. There's nothing going on here. We have clear skies up top. We do have some clouds to our north, but just to our west is our next developing storm system, and already across central Kansas we're getting this kind of weak little cold front. It's building some energy. It's going to slide in tomorrow. Once we get a little bit of Gulf of Mexico moisture, then we'll see the clouds and even a few random little showers popping up. Let's go through time. Here's 6 a.m. Clouds increase. We drop back to about 58. Clouds thicken. We'll warm into the mid 60s by the time we hit midday, but you can see this front right across the region that slides right to about the I-44 corridor by late in the afternoon. You can see these little green blobs. That is going to be some light showers and drizzle that will start to form. 58 to start, 64 by noon, high temp is 65. We'll have a south wind at 10 to 15. Showers increase tomorrow evening, so here's 7:30. Showers continue to increase through the overnight hours tomorrow night. We'll be sitting into the upper 50s, but then eventually we're going to drop back into lower 50s by the time Saturday morning rolls around. So here's 5:30. You can see how the rain expands throughout the daytime hours on Saturday. Here's 10 a.m. Let's continue into the afternoon. Could even be a few isolated little thunderstorms. It's going to be just kind of a cold, raw day, sending into lower 50s with the rain. Also rainfall, we could use a little bit. I think a lot of areas, half an inch, maybe upwards to an inch, maybe a little bit more in spots of 1 to 2 inches. So we'll keep our eyes on that. This system rotates out Sunday morning. Then by Monday afternoon, we get additional chances for rain, light showers, thunderstorms. Here's Tuesday, but Wednesday looks pretty good. And then on Thanksgiving itself, another little system rolls in, but I think we'll stay mainly dry right now. 65 tomorrow, 51 Saturday, 50 on Sunday. Those rain chances stick around on Monday and Tuesday. Jordan?
Thank you, Doug. Coming up, strong warnings from health officials about this fall, also winter.
Coronavirus fatalities are on the rise as the fall surge continues. I'm David Lee Miller in New York. The details coming up.
The risk of air pollution on women may vary with age. According to a new study in the journal Neurology, older women exposed to higher levels greater risk of brain shrinkage, which is common in patients with both dementia and Alzheimer's disease. We are averaging nearly 160,000 new coronavirus infections per day. And as we head into the holiday season, states are enforcing new COVID-19 restrictions to help slow the virus. Try to, anyway. Fox News correspondent David Lee Miller has more.
More than 250,000 Americans have now died from the coronavirus. As we head into flu season, public health officials fear that number will rise even more. Across the country, there's an increased demand for COVID-19 testing, with some people waiting in line for hours. Health experts say it comes amid a surge of new infections in the upcoming holiday season.
As those cases increase, demand increases, turnaround time may increase. So it's like a dog chasing its tail, quite frankly.
New restrictions are in effect across the country to curb the spread, including New York City, where public school buildings have shut down once again.
Open our schools! Open our schools! Open our schools!
A group of parents stood outside City Hall on Thursday, calling for schools to reopen, after a late Wednesday decision to close left many unprepared.
We need to come up with even more stringent rules to make schools work.
In Los Angeles County, officials are preparing for a mandatory curfew for all but essential workers if cases continue to rise, while several Midwestern states, including Kansas and North Dakota, have reversed course by putting new mask mandates in place. But some officials are still resisting calls for mandatory mask wearing.
What I am opposed of is mandates from this position to the people of this state. People on the local level should have a voice.
And with Thanksgiving a week away, the CDC says virtual gatherings are still the safest way to celebrate. In New York, David Lee Miller, Fox News.
Just ahead, reconsidering the past of service members currently with PTSD.
Help may be coming for veterans receiving only partial benefits because of a less than honorable discharge. I'm Ashley Strohmeyer with that story coming up.
Apple has agreed to a $113 million settlement over claims that slowed down older iPhones. It's part of a lawsuit brought up by 34 states and Washington, D.C. It alleges the company misled consumers about software updates that purposely slowed iPhones to extend battery life. The deal is separate, however, from a $500 million settlement that was earlier this year. Also, Apple is cutting the amount of money it's taking from certain mobile apps. Developers who make less than $1 million a year from their app will now be charged 15% by the iPhone maker, down from 30%. Analysts estimate that fewer than 5% of all iOS developers make more than $1 million. The charge comes as lawmakers, also regulators, eye Apple's dominance over the app market. U.S. veterans with mental health issues stemming from their time defending our country could be having their cases reviewed if they were given a less than honorable discharge. Fox News correspondent Ashley Strohmeyer explains.
The United States Army will reconsider the cases of thousands of American service members with post-traumatic stress disorder who were given less than honorable discharges. It's the result of a class action lawsuit filed on behalf of veterans nationwide who were prevented from receiving full health care services and other benefits because they did not receive fully honorable discharges due to minor misconduct linked to undiagnosed PTSD and other mental health conditions. As part of a settlement announced Wednesday, the Army will revisit thousands of veterans who were denied upgrades to their classifications.
they were discharged with a bad paper discharge because of some of the behaviors that they exhibited, from depression to anxiety to substance abuse, that all results from their symptoms of PTSD.
The case is similar to a lawsuit filed in 2013, also aimed at recognizing mental illness within the military. A war veteran who served more than 2 decades had suffered a mental breakdown after witnessing the deaths of several men from his units. William Coles was diagnosed with what was called adjustment disorder and only given partial benefits. But a judge sided with Coles, who argued he really had PTSD, which should have gotten him a medical discharge, entitling him to full education and retirement help. The Army will review thousands of discharge upgrade applications it denied from 2011 to 2020. The new criteria will also apply to veterans who apply for upgrades in the future. In New York, Ashley Strohmeyer, Fox News.
You may have noticed it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas in Joplin. Gonna check out a pretty cool celebration that happens earlier tonight when we come back. Downtown Joplin is getting into the Christmas spirit. The Downtown Joplin Alliance hosted the Winter Wonderlands. Look at those kids. Businesses set up window displays of Christmas decorations in order to take home a prize in 3 categories: Best Use of Theme, Best Use of Lights, and Most Original. City officials also lit up the Christmas tree in Spiva Park.
Even if the year isn't what we normally think it's going to be or what it usually is, we can still enjoy it. We can still have a great time and enjoy what the pieces we do have of it.
All right, so if you want to vote on your favorite business display, all you need to do is scan the QR code on that business's window and then enter your vote. Pretty simple. Charlie Brown and the gang are returning to TV just in time for the holidays. A Charlie Brown Thanksgiving and a Charlie Brown Christmas are coming to PBS thanks to a new deal with Apple, who now owns the rights. The specials are going to air on November 22nd and December 13th at 7:30 p.m. Both will also air on Apple TV for free. I guess air is not the right term. Stream on Apple TV for free. Those shows are important, right? Part of traditions for so many people. 30 more minutes, news, weather, and sports coming away.
PSU students will soon head home for Thanksgiving, and then they'll finish up the semester online. But before they go, some are sharing their experiences of going to college during a pandemic. That's coming up.
Gonna check out a fundraising tradition that happens today. Proceeds going to help feed people in need. Also, how the U.S. is dealing with a serious threat from China to become the world's most powerful nation. It has changed many things Americans take for granted, and the college experience is no exception. Pitt State students are set to head home for Thanksgiving tomorrow, and will finish out the semester online. But before they do, some of them spoke to KOM's Mike Mahoney about going to college in the age of the coronavirus.
Campus was looking a bit bare on Thursday as PSU students prepared to go home for Thanksgiving break. But the ones who were around weren't shy when it came to discussing their first semester during a pandemic.
It was a tough semester to start out. It was much harder. There were less breaks and there were accommodations that had to be made the entire way. I'd say the university in itself did a pretty fantastic job at controlling the situation.
The school itself has done a great job of keeping us up to date on what's going on with numbers in the county. Overall, I haven't felt unsafe or anything while I've been here.
These computer information systems majors gave PSU their seal of approval when it came to handling student education and campus COVID safety, and other students agreed with them.
For me personally, I think the university did quite a good job. I had professors who were really helpful in making sure that I would stay safe. I am someone who has high risk.
PSU junior Peyton Williams also says the college did a good job protecting people on campus from the coronavirus, but was one of the few students to offer some advice. He'd like to see the university get a bit stricter on rule enforcement.
A few teachers I've seen walk by a couple of students on campus, just let a couple of students slide by without their masks on, just give them a little heads up, everybody speak up, do their part.
But Peyton and all the students who spoke to KOAM agree that the university is making the right move, having students finish the semester online following Thanksgiving.
Everybody's going home, seeing all their family, and who knows who contracted what, and don't want to have the possibility to bring that back and be spread.
I'm glad that they're doing that. I think it's a really good idea. I don't think that it would have been smart for us to come back on campus for just a couple weeks after everyone leaving.
I think it'll be okay. The last few weeks are just going to be exams and finishing the last few things up, so I don't think it'll be there will be too many hiccups.
In Pittsburgh, Mike Mahoney, KOAM News.
Today and yesterday at the Bryant Student Health Center, PSU offered COVID-19 tests to any student who wanted one before going home for Thanksgiving. Be safe and enjoy the time. It's become an important tradition. The Watered Gardens Empty Bowls event happened this evening. People buy a bowl that includes a serving of soup for $20. Money is going to Watered Gardens to help the less fortunate in our area. This year's event was a bit different logistically in a way. There were only 60 people allowed at a time inside, and masks were required, as we're seeing. There was still the important mission, though, behind this whole event, not to mention some pretty good food.
We also get these area restaurants. We get to kind of feature some of their soups, let people know of these places in town that have got great food, and it gives us an opportunity for folks to support local missions that are privately funded and are feeding those struggling with poverty and homelessness in our community.
Besides soup, people could purchase some artwork done by artists at Watered Gardens. Likely won't be available for months, but just the idea of a home device that can test for the coronavirus is generating some excitement. Fox News correspondent Kevin Cork reports.
On the heels of authorization of much-needed COVID-19 vaccine, there's even more excitement now following FDA approval of a rapid at-home COVID testing kit.
I would love to take a test at home because I have 2 young kids, so it would just be so much easier.
It's a single-use nasal swab test that gives results within 30 minutes. Developer Lucira says for people who think they may have the coronavirus, the best time to use it is when symptoms are developing. It's a similar issue with existing tests. Try too early and you might get a false negative. Much like the COVID vaccines, which have efficiency percentage rates in the 90s, Lucira's at-home swabs have a 94.1% rate of detecting positive cases and a 98% success rate of detecting negative cases.
The huge advancement here isn't the speed itself, but the ability to have a test that is on par, or at least close to par, as what we consider the gold standard PCR testing, and doing it in a very rapid time.
People are optimistic. This could be a major turning point.
If it's tested and proven safe and effective, I would definitely take it myself and recommend that other people take it.
But there are skeptics.
This is nothing but a push of big pharma once again. No, it's just another way for the government to make money off us.
Lucira's at-home testing kit has been in development for years. It was initially meant to detect the flu, but it was modified to look for COVID-19. As for mass availability, well, that's not expected until early spring and will cost about $50 with a prescription. In Washington, I'm Kevin Cork, Fox News.
We are getting fresh information now about just how seriously the U.S. government is taking the growing threat from China. A new report says the Beijing leadership is intent on displacing the U.S. as the world's most powerful nation. Fox News correspondent Benjamin Hall looks at the implications of this from London.
A new generation of Chinese fighter pilots landing on a new generation of Chinese carriers. War games simulating the naval invasion of Taiwan. Further arrests of opposition lawmakers in Hong Kong. And high in the Himalayas, reports that China used a secret microwave weapon to incapacitate Indian soldiers. China has also now signed a major trade deal with 14 other Asian Pacific countries, the first that unites China, Japan, South Korea and Australia. China has been flexing its military and economic muscles, and the State Department is paying close attention, issuing a warning to the incoming administration saying, the CCP aims not merely at preeminence within the established world order, but to fundamentally revise world order, placing the People's Republic of China at the center and serving Beijing's authoritarian goals and hegemonic ambitions. President Trump has repeatedly criticized Democrats for failing to address China's behavior, and there remains little clarity on President-elect Biden's plans for the U.S.-China relationship.
We need to be aligned with the other democracies, another 25% or more, so that we can set the rules of the road instead of having China and others dictate outcomes because they are the only game in town.
China has congratulated President-elect Biden, but they remain cautious of President Trump. State media reporting that Beijing is preparing for what they say could be a, quote, final act of madness from President Trump to sabotage Biden's presidency. There is a growing and bipartisan belief that the U.S. needs a more aggressive approach to China. Whether President-elect Biden shares this approach remains to be seen. In London, Benjamin Hall, Fox News.
Australia's Defence Force has recommended an investigation into alleged unlawful killings in Afghanistan between 2009 and 2013. A report released yesterday alleges 39 killings of prisoners, farmers, or other civilians by 19 members of the Australian Special Forces. According to the chief of the Australian Defence Force, none of the crimes were described as being conducted in the heat of battle. A bit later, Democrats in the House of Representatives nominating Nancy Pelosi for another term as Speaker. We're going to look, though, at the challenges she faces.
Well, it turned out to be another mild but windy day for us today. The winds at times gusting 50 upwards to 60 miles per hour, which is pretty insane. But at least we had sunshine, temperatures into the mid-70s. 4 highs as we did go all the way up to 74 during the afternoon. Great time lapse. This is Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Of course, Indigo is just outside Seneca, Missouri. Temps, they're still up there at 64 in Independence, 63 Grove, Pitt at 60, Neosho 62, Lamar is sitting at 61 degrees, and it's still windy. It's just not as windy as what we had earlier. You can see the south winds sustained right around 15 miles per hour. And then the wind gusts, they aren't as high, but we're still getting some winds that are gusting in that 25 to about 35 mile per hour range. You can see the flag blowing. We're looking east from our station, currently sitting 64 south winds at about 15, humidity is at 56%. There's nothing going on here. We have clear skies up top. We do have some clouds to our north, but just to our west is our next developing storm system, and already across central Kansas we're getting this kind of weak little cold front. It's building some energy. It's going to slide in tomorrow. Once we get a little bit of Gulf of Mexico moisture, then we'll see the clouds and even a few random little showers popping up. Let's go through time. Here's 6 a.m. Clouds increase. We drop back to about 58. Clouds thicken. We'll warm into the mid 60s by the time we hit midday, but you can see this front right across the region that slides right to about the I-44 corridor by late in the afternoon. You can see these little green blobs. That is going to be some light showers and drizzle that will start to form. 58 to start, 64 by noon, high temp is 65. We'll have a south wind at 10 to 15. Showers increase tomorrow evening, so here's 7:30. Showers continue to increase through the overnight hours tomorrow night. We'll be sitting into the upper 50s, but then eventually we're going to drop back into lower 50s by the time Saturday morning rolls around. So here's 5:30. You can see how the rain expands throughout the daytime hours on Saturday. Here's 10 a.m. Let's continue into the afternoon. Could even be a few isolated little thunderstorms. It's going to be just kind of a cold, raw day, sending into lower 50s with the rain. Also rainfall, we could use a little bit. I think a lot of areas, half an inch, maybe upwards to an inch, maybe a little bit more in spots of 1 to 2 inches. So we'll keep our eyes on that. This system rotates out Sunday morning. Then by Monday afternoon, we get additional chances for rain, light showers, thunderstorms. Here's Tuesday, but Wednesday looks pretty good. And then on Thanksgiving itself, another little system rolls in, but I think we'll stay mainly dry right now. 65 tomorrow, 51 Saturday, 50 on Sunday. Those rain chances stick around on Monday and Tuesday. Jordan?
Thanks again, Doug. Coming up in sports, Missouri Southern basketball kicking off their season tonight against Central Oklahoma. Also, a Seneca High School baseball standout signing his letter of intent to move up to the college level.
Tonight is the opening night of the season for MIAA basketball. The Missouri Southern Lions kick things off this evening, hitting the road to face Central Oklahoma. Now, the women's game was tight, but the Lions fall in that one 75-74. Carly Turnbull led the way with 15 for Moso. Then check this out. The 24th ranked MSSU men hit the floor against UCO. And it was the same score, just reversed. Lions win at 75-74. Cam Martin finishes with 27 points and 10 rebounds. The Pittsburgh State Gorillas have to wait a few more days until their first game of the season. Pitt State will travel to Central Oklahoma on Saturday to kick off their season. Now, the Gorillas in a pretty good spot heading into the winter. On the women's side, they're in their third year under head coach Amanda David. And they have 3 starters back. On the men's side, it's year 4 under Kim Anderson, and those guys have 3 players back who started 10 or more games. With the pandemic, this season will look a little different for both teams, and it starts with their first road trip this weekend.
Obviously, with the COVID, we got to be extremely careful, and most of our meals are going to be eaten in the hotel. We won't be going out and eating or running around or anything like that. Bus seating, there'll be a space in between everybody. Everybody will have masks on, while we're on the bus and when we're traveling. So.
The Webb City Cardinals are once again in the football state quarterfinals. Tomorrow night, those Cards face the Lebanon Yellow Jackets, aiming to move on to the Final Four in the Class 5 bracket. Webb City's district championship streak started before anyone on the current roster was born.
I have not thought about that. That's crazy.
We don't sit around and talk about it. We don't sit around and think about it, honestly. I was just a young guy then, and certainly I'm not anymore. But, we'll reflect back on it someday and think, how special it really was.
Last Friday, Webb City topped Carthage in a battle of Southwest Missouri heavyweights to claim the Class 5 District 6 title, their 21st straight district championship.
We hadn't been playing Carthage in the district in the final, a finality game like that, because they were in Class 5 and, they won a state championship last year and by all accounts, they're the team to beat.
We didn't get to play them in the regular season, so beating them in the district championship meant a lot to us.
The Cardinals welcome in the Lebanon Yellow Jackets Friday night in the state quarterfinals. Lebanon is 7-3 and has scored 45 or more in 4 consecutive games.
Make no bones about it. They're going to run the ball right at you and challenge you at the line of scrimmage. And you got to be able to get yourself off the field. That's all we've been talking about this week to our defense. You got to be able to get yourself off the field.
Having been in the situation for 21 straight years, one thing is certain. The lights on Friday night will not be too bright for these Cardinals.
Certainly the kids, the kids are pretty resilient, and they really, when you've been somewhere and you've done that before, there's no question it gives you a great deal of confidence, in the big game, the big district championship game like we played last week.
Webb City is one of 3 local teams still alive for state championships, joining Lamar in Class 2 and Cassville in Class 3. Finally, big day for that guy right there. Seneca High School senior Titus Atkins signed this afternoon to continue his baseball career in college. He's staying in Missouri to play for the College of the Ozarks, where he will play first base for the Bobcats.
It's just special to me. I worked my whole life for it. I busted everything, me and my dad, no matter how many times we're on the field. I did it for this. I grinded for this, just making it to the next level. That's all that mattered to me.
That's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
House Democrats nominated Nancy Pelosi for another term as Speaker, but the California leader and lawmaker is facing some unique challenges this time around. Fox News congressional correspondent Chad Pergram tells us what those challenges are.
House Democrats are clinging to their majority. Yet despite nearly losing control, Democrats are recycling the top 3 members of their leadership team. 80-year-old Jim Clyburn is whip, 81-year-old Steny Hoyer is majority leader, and 80-year-old Nancy Pelosi as Speaker. Pelosi is sticking to a promise 2 years ago to only serve as Speaker through early 2023.
I will abide by those limits that are there.
But Pelosi cracked the door to staying on as Speaker.
I don't want to undermine any leverage I may have.
No one challenged Pelosi for the top job, despite some Democrats grousing privately about the need for new, younger blood.
The Speaker was elected with unbridled enthusiasm.
Pelosi may have won in the caucus, but she needs a majority of the entire House when it formally selects the Speaker in January. That's 218 votes out of 435. But the number of Democratic seats could be in the low 220s, and that would mean Pelosi would have little margin for error.
If 10 Democrats vote again against Nancy Pelosi, she will not be Speaker. You see, the numbers are different.
Pelosi lost 15 Democratic votes for Speaker 2 years ago. She can't lose that many this time, including conservative Oregon Democrat Kurt Schrader. He voted 2 years ago for Ohio Democrat Marcia Fudge. Schrader is non-committal.
Well, a month and a half, 2 months, that's a long time in politics. So we'll see what actually happens between now and then. And you respond accordingly and vote or act differently.
Pelosi won't have President Trump as a foil this time. However, she does have President-elect Joe Biden.
It is opportunity for us to work together with the president, especially when he's a unifier like Joe Biden.
Pelosi knows it probably just takes a call from the president-elect to shore up any wavering Democrats to support her bid for Speaker. Chad Pergram, Fox News.
When we come back, going to preview a new competition series focusing on teamwork between dogs and humans. This seems like an awesome series. An adorable new competition series called The Pack is heading your way with humans and dogs teaming up for the adventure. We spoke with the show's Olympian host as well as contestants and a couple of special canine guests. Don't know how they're going to talk to us, but we'll see. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin.
Dogs and their partners are teammates. Olympic gold medalist Lindsey Vonn hosts Amazon's global adventure series The Pack, with human and canine competitors taking on challenges for $500,000 plus $250,000 for an animal charity of their choice. Vonn joined in the fun with her co-host Lucy.
We got to rappel on a waterfall, we got to zip line.
She says the show held many opportunities.
That's what I like most, is that it had nothing to do with skiing. It just had to do with relationships and companionship and our dogs.
Lindsay is a big pet person. Lucy is one of 3 dogs who join her activities, including working out.
I always have her in the gym and I'm like, Lucy, was it a good job? And she's just like, looking at me funny. Bear and Leo, they're always chasing stuff, so it's really hard to keep them contained. But it's just nice to have them in the gym. Honestly, wherever I am, I want my dogs to be by my side.
For the Grand Scale Series challenges, a dog safety team is there.
Every team has the option of, opting out or taking a different route or whatever it is. And that was built into the rules for the challenges themselves.
Anytime they were filming or really the dogs were doing anything, we were there.
And competitors can't wait for audiences to meet their talented best friends.
We have a motorcycle with a sidecar, scooters. One thing we're really known for is surfing.
Before the show, he already knows 70 commands and tricks. He definitely shows all the big dogs that he can definitely roll with them.
The Pack premieres November 20th. Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
That's awesome. That's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. Gonna leave you with video of some more Christmas decorations in Joplin. Beautiful. Be safe. Do this all again tomorrow. See you then.